I guess it all starts way back in Lancashire, born in 1957, all those years ago, and grew up in a small house on a council estate, a cul-de-sac, which was like a dead end. But far from that, it was a wonderful time to play, and we seemed to be out all night until it got dark, and then there would be, my mother calling us in, and so hide and seek and roller skating and making trolleys out of my, old shelves and pram wheels and stuff like that. And so I think it was a very creative environment. It was also a Catholic community, surrounded by a Protestant community. There was very much, I was aware of being a Roman Catholic. My brothers were all altar boys, so they went to church, and I didn't want to be an altar boy, but I watched them and went, behind the stage, so to speak, when the priest took his vestments off, and my brothers took their cassocks off, and the return to people. But the church was very much. I think that was my first introduction to theatre.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I love the spectacle of the of the Roman Catholic Mass.
It is quite a spectacle when you think about it, isn't it? All the ceremony, the robes, the pointy hats,
the
incense,
colours,
and incense, the chanting,
and the around the church there are these things called the Stations of the Cross, which follow Christ's life through Passion Week, which was the last week of his life, and so they always fascinated me. These sort of stages of the cross, and of him carrying the cross, and at Easter they're all covered up with purple cloths, and all of the flowers and that are taken out until Easter Sunday, when the purple cloths come off and the flowers come back out, and so it was very much because it felt staged, but at the same time sort of thoroughly engrossing. So that was my beginnings really at Roman Catholic school. Aged 5 was my first day at school. It was horrendous. It was the first day I'd been separated from my mother. And I remember my mother was very dutiful, so she got me to school first thing in the morning. I was the first child there. And I literally remember being held down by Mr. Nolan, the caretaker, in the chair.
Wow.
And I know how fallible memory is, but I remember him wearing a trilby hat and his overcoat. He must have just arrived at school, and the nuns called him in to sort of hold me down in the chair.
Wow.
So
because you were trying to get back out again.
Because I was trying to get back out. I was trying to, it was the first time I've been separated from my mother, really.
Wow.
And to add to that, the nun, she must have sort of had a fascination for reel-to-reel recordings, but she had a reel-to-reel tape recorder and recorded me screaming and calling for my mother. And then when the other children came in, played it back.
Oh my God! What humiliation!
So,
wow.
It was. So it really became really quite sinister and frightening and controlling in that way. So. I didn't have a very easy time at school. I wasn't diagnosed at the time of being dyslexic or with ADHD, but I do remember sort of being sat on a table with a few other people whilst the majority of the class were, learning English and writing and geography and stuff like that. And we had these wonderful wooden templates kind of different animals that you could draw around, and then we cut them out with scissors out of this wonderful old box, like an OXO box or something like that you had on it. And the scissors were, have you ever been in playgrounds and things like that where people, or bus shelters where the people have run their hands along these metal railings, and the metal takes on the quality of glass.
Yeah, it's so smooth.
Yeah, it's so smooth.
Shiny.
And shiny,
Yeah.
and so beautiful. Well, these scissors had that kind of quality. So I it was to some extent reassuring to me that I wasn't the first person who was in a similar position of not being able to read and write. And I didn't learn to read and write until I went to secondary school.
Oh, wow, okay.
And I remember handing in an essay. I nearly said assignment. That would have been far too grand. But an essay to my English teacher, and him saying, "Flynn, I can't read this." And I looked at it and I said, "Neither can I, but I can tell you what I wrote. I can tell you the story of what I wrote." And at the time, one of my brothers was a big influence on me, and he had a beautiful handwriting, and I just wanted to write like that, and I noticed that what it consisted of was lots of ups and downs, like a heart monitor might be. So that's what I did. I did ups and downs, and I knew a few words like and if and but, so I could put those in. But the English teacher was great. He was very patient with me, and gave me a book of italic writing, because of my love of my brother's writing, which was very sort of italic-like. But my brother could do it in a way that was like a manuscript, like an illuminated manuscript. He seemed so competent in so many ways, my brother Tony. So I copied the letters, and I learnt them as shapes and patterns of movement, and gradually I learnt to read and write.
I was thinking when you were talking then about just knowing a few words and kind of almost filling in the blanks with your own shapes of things.
Yeah.
How wonderfully creative that is. Just inherently creative on a very simple creative level. I mean, how many kids would have gone, "Well, I can't write, so I'm not going to."
I know.
I'm going to have a go, and I'm going to do it my way, and kind of how it feels almost.
I think you're right. I think that's been something that's been really important to me.